good morning and welcome to AM News. In our top story this hour, the gift of the givers say they hope that the Al-Qaeda-linked kidnappers of a South African school teacher held hostage in Yemen will have a change of heart. The kidnappers, who are demanding 32 million rand, have threatened to execute Pierre Korki if the ransom money is not paid today. Yesterday, Korki's wife Yolandas made an impassioned plea for his release at a media briefing in Johannesburg.
Frail and gaunt, and talking to her captors through the media.
Thank you for releasing me and giving me back to my children.
A desperate plea.
And we're asking you, Al-Qaeda, to please show mercy, show tolerance, forgiveness, as we forgive you. Please release Pierre, please release the children's father. They're missing desperately.
Yolandas was released with an ominous warning that her husband's life was now in her hands. His health was fast deteriorating. It has always been a calling. He taught for over a decade at the prestigious Grey College in Bloemfontein. He was also a sports coach before leaving for Yemen 4 years ago.
A solid citizen, a man of integrity, who loved his job, and the children loved him. He was strict, but he was a master of his subject, and the boys respected him immensely.
For all the old grey boys, it's been very traumatic, and we've been praying for a long time, for a safe return, and that's really all I can say.
Negotiations for an extension are underway in Yemen, but these too have stalled.
The talks have deadlocked.
SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now for the latest, we are joined in studio by Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, founder and chairman of the humanitarian NGO Gift of the Givers, who are involved in negotiating the release of South African school teacher held hostage in Yemen, Pierre Korki. Dr. Suleiman, a very good morning to you and a welcome to AM News.
Morning, thank you very much.
Now, Doctor, today is D-Day to pay the ransom for the school teacher that is held in Yemen. How far are the negotiations?
We've basically come to a standstill. Last week, right up till Tuesday, we had intense negotiations, and it was 3 hours a day, 3 hours twice a day, several times in a day. And the mood was good right up till Tuesday night. But on Monday night, it started changing, because when Anas, my office manager, walked in on Monday night, the emphasis was, where's the money? The $3 million on Monday night. And on Tuesday, when they realized that we don't have the money, on Wednesday, there was only one phone call. On Thursday, there's one phone call. So from like almost 6 hours of talk a day, it's gone to 3 minutes on Wednesday and Thursday and nothing today. They're now not answering the phone at all. Because we knew from the beginning, there is no way anybody can raise $3 million. Who put that in the head that you can raise that kind of money? I don't know. But we made it emphatically clear that there's no way. In fact, we told them even $3,000 is a very difficult money to raise to give to you.
Now, Doctor, the family of the Gift of the Givers have requested assistance from the public.
Sorry, you mean the family of the Korkis?
Yes, the family of the Korkis have requested assistance from the public in the form of donations. How's the public's reaction to that? And if you can tell us how much money has been raised thus far?
I'm not involved with that because we don't get involved with ransom money. We are only facilitators to help get Pierre and Yolandas out of Yemen. The fundraising campaign is being handled by the family, but I know too, they haven't been pursuing that very aggressively because nobody's in his right frame of mind to be focusing on that at this moment of time. Today is the day, it may be the day of execution, we don't know. And you can only understand what's going on to the mind of Yolandas and her children. They must be devastated, everybody must be praying. Nobody's concentrating on doing any activity besides praying for now.
And you've just mentioned the question that I was going to ask, Doctor, as to how the family is dealing with this. Now, let's talk about Yolandas. She was released last week. Are you able to take us through the process of her release, Doctor?
It started 9 months ago. Money to raise to give to you.
Now, Doctor, the family of the Gift of the Givers have requested assistance from the public.
Sorry, you mean the family of the Korkis?
Yes, the family of the Korkis have requested assistance from the public in the form of donations. How's the public's reaction to that? And if you can tell us how much money has been raised thus far?
I'm not involved with that because we don't get involved with ransom money. We are only facilitators to help get Pierre and Yolandas out of Yemen. The fundraising campaign is being handled by the family, but I know too, they haven't been pursuing that very aggressively because nobody's in his right frame of mind to be focusing on that at this moment of time. Today is the day, it may be the day of execution, we don't know. And you can only understand what's going on to the mind of Yolanda and her children. They must be devastated. Everybody must be praying. Nobody's concentrating on doing any activity besides praying for now.
And you've just mentioned the question that I was going to ask, Doctor, as to how the family is dealing with this. Now, let's talk about Yolanda. She was released last week. Are you able to take us through the process of her release, Doctor?
It started 9 months ago. When Anas, my office manager, heard that they were kidnapped in Yemen, and he asked, can we do something? To cut a long story short, he went all over Yemen, left his number, announced to media, saying we are here as a South African NGO, we work in the country, we do work, people have captured South African people, you know, South Africa is helping us, please let's talk. 6th January, Monday, they called him. Up till that stage, we didn't know who they were. Were they just honorary criminals? Were they some kind of group? Who did they? We didn't know that. They said, you're looking for us? Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock, meet us at a certain place. When he went there, they told him that morning, we are Al-Qaeda. You know, so I said, did they have masks on? He said, no. I said, then aren't you afraid for your security? You saw their faces?
Absolutely.
He says, no, they're not worried about all that because they're not afraid of anybody. So they're not even afraid if you saw their face.
Wow.
So there's not an issue for them. So I said, focus on building trust with them, which he did. And eventually, with continuous negotiations, we managed. They had faith, they trusted him, he kept to his word, he was always on time, whatever they told him to do, he did. And because of that process, on Friday morning, and of course he showed them all the work we did in the country. Now can you imagine Al-Qaeda operatives sitting around the table and say, okay, let's look at the pictures of what you did in Yemen.
Absolutely,
and they did
yes.
that. And they said, okay, there's a possibility of, yeah, maybe we can talk to the boys on the top and see what can happen. And finally, on Friday morning at 6 a.m., as they promised, they delivered Yolanda to him free of charge. But that's where the problem started. They said, we've given you Yolanda hand to hand, free of charge. Remember, for Pierre, you have 8 days, we need $3 million, or you know what we're capable of. We already know at that time it's a lost cause. There's no way we can raise $3 million now in the next 10 years. And we made it clear to them from every discussion that the time, and more the time, the money is a big problem. Because even if they give us more time, we're not going to raise that kind of money. And we try to emphasize that over and over again. And we knew the only thing to do was not about only extension of time, but to try to talk them out of asking for a ransom.
Doctor, during these negotiations, what is the Al-Qaeda group saying is their main reason for kidnapping the couple?
They said they thought they were American. So we showed them passport copies and we said they're not American. So now since they're not American, you've got the wrong people, let them go. And they said no. So then we're starting to think, is the policy about Americans or is it a policy about money? We don't know the difference. What is your policy? We don't know. And we asked them that. You know, it was very frank discussions with them.
Doctor, let's talk about the level of involvement, if any, by the South African government.
I spoke to them in May last year, but government has a problem. Any government has a problem. They have a standard policy that they don't negotiate with hostages.
Absolutely.
With the hostage takers, sorry. So if nobody talks to them, then who's going to facilitate for the release of the hostages? It's an issue. Like for the Russian hostages. In 2009, nobody spoke to them. So they executed them. They killed 3 Russian nurses because nobody spoke to them. And we said we understand government's point, because you do it once, then they'll keep kidnapping people and you'll have to keep talking to them and you'll have to keep paying money. So we understand that point of view. The other problem South Africa has, it doesn't have an embassy in Yemen. So when you don't have diplomatic representation, it becomes so much more difficult. So you understand the problem. But because we have an office there, we have a track record, we have a relationship with the government, the clans, the people on the ground, everybody. So we worked with the ambassador from Saudi Arabia. He came to our office together, you know, there's communication all the time.
That's the question I want to raise, Doctor. You're a humanitarian aid. Why get involved with this kind of negotiation?
Because nobody else is going to do it. And we are in Yemen, and our policy is do good. It doesn't say do good, but don't do it in our situation. Don't do it as a bank robber, don't do it here.
So you have no jurisdiction in terms of doing
good? Religious law, there's no jurisdiction of doing good. It's unconditional. And wherever you can, and we knew, and the reality is we proved it. We got one person out.
Now, Doctor, what else can you tell us at this point about this whole hostage situation? Should we have any hope?
I always have hope. I always have got, because at the end of the day, neither me, nor Anas, nobody in the world could take Yolanda out. That's only God's grace. Because my spiritual teacher said that whatever is done through you and not by you. So we don't take any responsibility of taking Yolanda out, or even for that matter, taking Pierre out if he's released, and we hope it's released. It's in God's grace, it's God's hands. Even Yolanda knows that. She says, look, at the end of the day, my husband's life is in God's hands. Whatever happens, happens. We have to do the human things here and try the human mechanisms and use your intellect and what God has given you to talk, to negotiate. And we're still hoping that somebody will see some reason and some rationale, and hopefully that Pia will still be back with us alive without having to pay anything.
Have you, as the gift of the givers, Doctor, appealed to international media to try and, create awareness around this whole issue, to try and get aid from international bodies as well?
Again, we're not pushing the idea of aid. We're pushing the idea of dialogue. Because the moment you push idea for aid, they think, oh, they're collecting money, keeping the guy for another 6 months. The other problem is Pia is sick. How long more can you withstand being in detention?
How long has he been there, Doctor? Are you
9
aware?
months. If he gets complicated, he's already got disease. If he gets complicated, he may die in detention. So the longer you negotiate for extension of time, he may die before you take him out. So we have that thing to balance too. So we need him out as fast as possible without paying money. So the international media was used, we got their help, to announce to the world, and not as gift of the givers can't do it, because it doesn't concern us. It concerns Yolandi and her family. Absolutely. So she made an international appeal yesterday for some reason, please, can you release my husband? He's an innocent man, he's from Africa, he didn't do anything to you. We came to serve your country. On those basis, compassion. Somebody, we're hoping, may look at that and say, you know what, let me look into this, what's going on. Absolutely. By God's grace, let him go.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for talking to us today, and good luck with the whole situation. That was Dr. Imitiaz Suleiman, founder and CEO of the NGO Gift of the Givers. Let's move on to our next story now. The 3 victims of the violent service delivery protest over water shortage in Mututlung outside Brits will be buried at the weekend. The memorial service is expected to take place today. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate is probing the incidents. The South African Human Rights Commission has also announced that it has launched its own investigations into the deaths.